Hey guys, Adrian here for the Digital Dojos at digitaldojos.com. Today we're going to be reviewing and taking a look at Google's Nexus 7. This is one of their first entry-level tablets into the whole pure Google experience. I've had this for a while. It's been out for a while. Granted, I just wanted to give my opinions on it, my thoughts, my rating, and an overview of the Google Nexus 7. So, as you can see here, this is the Google Nexus 7. It is a 7-inch form factor tablet that is made by Google and the guys over at Asus. You can see here the screen is very fingerprint attractive. You can tell that just from the beginning. It is a it's a plastic type of material, the build quality. You can see here the screen in the front isn't a retina screen. It is a pretty high resolution screen. On the back here you have a kind of grippy material, more sort of a plastic-like material with the Asus branding along with the Google branding or the Nexus branding on as well. You have your micro little USB port here, which we'll take a little better look at here. I can't really get into focus, but I want to talk a little bit about other specs about the Google Nexus as well, first off. All right, so let's start off by talking a little bit about the tech specs and specifications regarding the Nexus. It's a hybrid form factor tablet, like I said, 7 inches, starting around $200. You can go $250 model. This is a 7-inch tablet powered by the quad-core Tegra 3 CPU. This Tegra 3 comes in at 1.2 gigahertz in terms of specs and all that. Now, connectivity, it has Wi-Fi, it has Bluetooth, it also supports, like I said, micro USB, headphone 3.5 millimeter connector. You have this front-facing camera, which is only at 1.2 megapixels, and you also have it. You can see here the screen quality. It's not Retina, but it is a pretty high-resolution screen at 1280 by 800, I believe is the resolution, if I'm not mistaken. So it has a really decent resolution. Internal storage of it used to start as low as 8 gigs. I think they're phasing out the 8 gig model. Battery life, I've gone around 9 hours battery life. They claim around 9.5, average life. I've gone around that 8 to 9 hours. Weighs in only at 0.75 pounds, and a dimension again of 7.81 by 4.72 if you really want to get super technical. It's running stock Android Jelly Bean. The latest version of Jelly Bean that's out is 4.2. You can see here I have a rooted version, which is known as Paranoid Android. So here you can just see kind of the software that's coupled on the device and the responsiveness, and really, what you kind of get with the Android experience. You get a really customizable experience, a real in-depth experience that you can really just tune to your liking. The device itself is a really nice form factor. You can see here it's easy to hold with one hand and handle here. You have this little lock screen that Android is famous for. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with the Nexus 7 in terms of rooting it, modding it, adding all these tweaks and different functionality and forms. Here it is confirmed to a 10 or compared to a 10-inch form factor. Kind of in size here, you can see how it is looking against the iPad. This is the first gen iPad, and just as a kind of size comparison, it's much more smaller. It's easy to handle, and again, it's completely different to that of iOS because it's packed with Android. Jelly Bean has a whole different operating system on it that it offers. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and get into the pros and the cons. What I liked about it, what I didn't really like about it. But some of the stuff I don't mention really in the pros and cons. It also has stuff like GPS involved. It has microphones and HD playback, supports all of that. I don't really touch into that about pros and cons. And I didn't really mention how the screen it's a scratch resistant glass, but as you saw, it gets a lot of fingerprints. I don't think it's oleophobic. It's more of a hybrid form factor because you can run phone apps on this. You can run tablet apps on it. It's kind of a phablet sort of form factor. You can obviously make calls on this and all that. You can do stuff like VoIP services and all of that. But overall, again, that's just a quick overview of the Nexus specs and the dimensions and all of that. So let's go ahead and jump into the pros and cons. Hey guys, so lastly I want to hit the pros and cons. I want to talk about my overall opinion, my overview. I've talked about the specs, etc. I want to talk about my pros, what I like about the device, what I dislike, my overall experience with it. So pros, first off the bat, customability. Android, Jelly Bean, and I talk about the software a lot because software is a huge, obviously, part of the tablet, whether it's iOS, Windows, 8, and or Android in this case, and Jelly Bean. Software is a huge part of the hardware itself. So it has awesome customability. If you're coming from an iOS atmosphere like myself, Android, it's a nice device to really kind of mess around with stuff. Cool little fun project to hack things, tweak things, root things, and all of that, and throw different stuff on it. I'm running Paranoid Android, which is, I guess, a variation of Jelly Bean. and it's really, really awesome in terms of customability and just stock stuff. Even I wasn't on stock Jelly Bean too long, but stock things you can do on Android is really, really awesome. Stuff like even something simple like live wallpapers running in the background. Widgets really customizable in terms of, and I showed earlier how you can really kind of mess around with resizing widgets. Everybody's Android device is kind of different. You don't really see that stock, iOS feel like you're used to. Everybody kind of has different widgets, different apps, different things running on their home screens, which is really awesome and really adds to the fact the whole customability of the Nexus 7 and Jelly Bean as a whole has that real open access, and even down to the level of like apps you can install. For example, uTorrent is available on the Nexus 7, allowing you to download, people use that to download podcasts, movies, music. You can do all of that simply from the Nexus 7. You can download stuff out of the browser, out of uTorrent, stuff you couldn't really do in Safari and other tablets. Different operating systems are very locked down. Again, Google really provided a pure open experience with this Nexus 7, which I'm really, really, real huge pro in my opinion. Speed for price. For the price you pay at the $200, $250 price point, you get a really, really decent price, or decent spec and speedy tablet. It runs awesome. Shutdown and startup aren't, too long at all. And again, I didn't use Jelly Bean stock too long, but it runs really nice, runs smooth. Even with all the widgets, with all the home screens, with all the live wallpapers running, you don't really get that performance downgrade. And again, there's issues in games where it jitters now and then, but again, I haven't really seen any issues other than that. Video runs fine, HD video, stuff like that. There's no lag in terms of that. And again, just performance in terms of how many widgets and stuff I've thrown on here runs perfectly fine. The speed, again, to mention, like I said, stuff like Google search, as simple as that, is really fast on this. So for example, what is 10 plus 10? And I don't know if you heard that. Let me try that again. What is 50 plus 50?
The answer is 100.
So you can hear that speed, and maybe that's to do with network as well, and just how fast stuff like Google searching and that Google experience is really tied into the device. Fast, gives you quick results. Even stuff like Google Now, really awesome. Speed and functionality in terms of all that stuff that's built in. So for $250 to $250, you get a really high spec device with that quad core processor and all of that stuff built in here. Lastly, form factor. This 7-inch tablet is something that's new to me. It's I'm used to using an iPad, used to using things like a MacBook Airs, etc. The 7-inch form factor is really nice to hold with one hand. A really awesome content consumption device. Maybe not as much as content production, but really just reading stuff, news, videos, all of that. Really easy to hold with one hand. Browse with your other hand and do whatever. Really, it is an ultimate experience, an ultimate portability, in my opinion, to use something like this. And the bezels are, it's not too bad. I haven't had too many issues. I've had issues if I kind of hold it with one hand like this. One thing I like that iOS 6 does that Android doesn't do is when you have like one finger on if you're resting one finger, you can't really, this other finger doesn't detect that, where if I do that on iOS 6 on my iPhone 5, it recognizes that I may just be resting my thumb on the side here, and this is the actual finger I'm using to swipe. So there is that issue. You kind of really have to hold it. I like putting my thumb behind it, that way it doesn't really interfere with the whole experience and all that. Now let's get into the cons. Con-wise, hardware issues. There's a bit of story behind this. I'm going to try and run through this as quick as possible. I had some pictures, I even had some video. I'll overlay some of that if I choose to. Basically, a lot of people have had issue, and I'm not just talking about me. Tons of hundreds of thousands of people I've seen on forums, on blogs, have had issue with the rising LCD here. And you can kind of see this, the rising screen. You can see when I push down, I don't know if you can really see it quite good there on camera, but basically if I push down here, the screen goes, it's not flush, it's not sitting perfectly down, and I can't really focus on that too well, but again, basically it's just tons of issues with the screen wasn't sitting flush, and I was really disappointed about this. It really killed the experience with that. So I read online and I read in the forums, it's probably due to Asus manufacturing. I opened this up only to find that 4 screws that tighten down the screen are missing, 4 of them. 4 total screws are missing. I was fortunate enough to able to, I have a whole bunch of tools. I'm used to repairing electronics. I used to run a small business with that. So I found threads that matched, put them in, still had the issue. I had the issue for a while. It sat flush for a while and then popped back up, and you get this kind of creaking issue where you push down and you hear this creaking noise. Plastic, it's a really cheapo type of feeling. Not toyish, I do like the form factor like I just mentioned, but that really killed the experience for me. So what I did was I got a heat gun and I ran it across the side and I laid books on it to weigh it down. This is something that a lot of other people have done. What this causes the device to do to heat up and kind of melt the glue hopefully back into place to hold the thing, hold the screen flush down. You can just hear that. I don't know if you can hear that right there. Really kind of cheap material. Wasn't really satisfied with that. Yes, you can call Asus to the manufacturers and get it replaced in some cases, but in other cases I read it really took a while and I needed to get this review out, so I did not want to wait for that. I was able to kind of get by and kind of do some do-it-yourself repairs to it to make it manageable. Along with that, my tactile button my volume up button has tactile feedback. My volume down one has no tactile feedback at all. Literally, I opened it up, it was missing the button in here. Like, not even, there was no button. It wasn't just missing, like, it wasn't just like somewhere else in the device, it was just gone. So a lot of factory defects with my specific model here. Going on here, it is charging and stuff like that. Charging, if you're not using a wall outlet, takes forever. And I mean, really long time compared to other devices. I let it plugged into my iMac, which charges my iPad fine via USB. Took after 30 minutes, this only went up 2-3%. I don't know if that's something with my Android device, but it really takes a super long time charging via USB. So you really do want to use that whole wall adapter, which I advise using anyway. But again, it's just a little thing that if you don't have a wall adapter around, it's kind of an inconvenience. Lastly, the Play Store experience. I had issues with the Play Store. I'm overseas. I'm in Japan. The thing that the App Store does is it does start me off putting me in Japan App Store, but I can change it to US. Once I log in my account, I can say, no, I'm in the US. I'm APO, FPO, I'm overseas. I'm still considered United States. So it allows me to do that. It allows me to purchase, using US currency. It allows me to go through the United States App Store. This did not. This, by default, you get Transformers 2 or Transformers on here. It gave me Japanese version of Transformers. I could only use yen to buy items. It would convert the currency if I was to pay with a credit card or something like that. But I got all the top apps for Japan, so I was getting a whole bunch of Japanese apps mixed into the Play Store. Really, again, kind of killed my experience. I couldn't change it easily to the United States. I actually had to use a proxy. I used TunnelBear, my TunnelBear account on Android, just to get the United States Play Store, see the featured apps in the US, and get that US currency working out perfectly there. So that was a huge bummer as well. Overall opinion, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's a high rating in my opinion with the tablets when it comes to tablets. Only reason it did push up to the 8 was, again, those hardware issues. There was tons of them, tons of things that could have been avoided. And I know people are going to say, it's a $200 tablet, $250 tablet, but still, I expect companies like Asus, companies like Google to get rid of these defects, because that's still not acceptable whatever you're paying. Maybe if you pay $1 for the device, but $250 is still a pretty good amount of money, so I do not expect an experience like that with a device like so. 7-inch form factor, I really do like it. It is an awesome interface, and it's awesome, great consumption device for reading content and all of that. You get what you pay for, and you do get a decently spec'd tablet at that with a quad-core processor, all of that. The camera isn't that great, as I showed in the test video earlier. The sound quality is decent, but a lot of people don't really like the speaker that's built into here either. It does use a proprietary, micro USB type of, not proprietary, micro USB to charge, so, that's not too bad. It doesn't use like a proprietary cable, like a lightning cable or anything like that. But again, if you are somebody who's looking for a first Android device, this is a really awesome gateway into the Android community. Really cool stuff is being done with this, and a lot more cool stuff is kind of being open. Again, the community is really behind this device and behind Jelly Bean. There's stuff like Ubuntu, a full Linux distro of Ubuntu is being able to, you can throw it on here now through rooting it. So, you can do really cool hacking, tweaking stuff with this device. Definitely something to invest in if you haven't tried Android out before for its price point. Via its competitors, looking it off, comparing if you're deciding between this and other devices, over the Amazon Kindle Fire, I definitely think this is a way better offer. If you're kind of debating against the two big titans right now, which is the Nexus 7 and the iPad, I'm going to say it really just comes, or iPad mini, it comes down to ecosystem. The iPad mini, yes, you're paying $130 more, but you're getting a much more solidly built device with a unibody aluminum. You're not getting this plastic. You're not getting this kind of cheap material. Not that it's cheap. It feels great. It grips great. It just, like I said, I had those screen issues and all that. You're getting a much more built product, better built product there. This offers a higher resolution, higher specs and stuff like that, but when it comes to the common consumer, it doesn't always matter about Geekbench scores or specs. more that what you get in the fluidity, you know, how the operating system handles with you as a real world experience. It comes down to what you use, what your ecosystem is. If you want to try an Android, awesome device. If you use stuff like iPhones, iPads, and you really want that experience across the board, the iPad mini might just be for you. If you're buying it for a gift for somebody who isn't too tech savvy, the Nexus 7 may not be the best device for them. I think the iPad mini would kind of settle better just because iOS is that much more simpler and all that. While this is awesome, you can do a lot of customability, not everybody's going to need all the fancy bells and whistles that Android provides. Anyways guys, I'm Adrian here. Thanks a ton for watching. Hope you enjoyed my review. Hope it helps somebody out there whether you're debating on buying it or not, or just, you know, whatever. It's an awesome tablet. For its price point, like I said, you cannot beat it at the $200 to $250 price point. There isn't a tablet right now that touches it within that price point. The iPad mini is priced a little bit higher. It is still in the same market. I think the iPad mini is going to be I think it's going to, just because Apple has really been in this business for a while and has a unification, I think it's going to outsell the Nexus eventually, because for anybody to say they're not in the same market is, you know, their head's in the wrong place. Even if it's $130 more, they are directly competing for the same consumers, the same people who want to buy those 7-inch form factor, whether it's Fire, Kindle Fire, Nexus 7, or iPad mini. But again, right now, from $200 to $250, this is the device to go with if you're looking to spend that much. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. Head over to digitaldojos.com for the full review. Thanks again, and I'll catch you all in the next video.